So Tectonic Shift is a multi-deck builder. And what that means is if you're familiar with deck builders, this one actually has 3 different decks that you play through. And in this game, you're basically purchasing cards and putting them in different decks. And some cards may do various effects, or they may move around between decks, or they're specifically identified for one deck to go into. So the way it kind of flows is you can see under each deck, there is a written bit of information that this is the build deck, and that's the deck that you actually go and purchase cards. It's just referred to as building in this game. Combat is your combat phase where you'll attack other players, as the goal in the game is simply reduce their health down to 0 before you lose all of your health. And then support is your utility phase where you're going to be gaining energy, as the other 2 decks cost energy to play certain cards in the game. This also gives you access to looking at other decks. And then up here is your city. That is kind of your tableau in the game. Every time a card is purchased to be placed somewhere, a new card will come out and replace it. And then to quickly go over the little symbols in this is your build deck uses parts in the game. So up here you'll gain parts to spend to purchase cards. Each player also has a nuke button. It's a one-time use that it allows you to remove up to 3 cards from the city. Next is your combat phase. So this is your health. As you take damage, you're simply just going to keep moving it. Once you reach down to 0, you move from Hull A to Hull B of your ship and continue taking damage. And then simply, once you've all the way gone through C and reached 0, you are eliminated from the game. And then lastly is support. So this is simply your energy bar. So you'll be gaining energy and spending it. So this one's going to constantly move around throughout the game. And then this is simply your max energy. So right now we max out at 10. All right, so to explain how cards work and the identifiers in a card is at the very top left corner, you have the cost of a card. That's the amount of parts you spend to purchase a card. Next, we have the deck placement. So you can see in all of these, they have different symbols placed throughout them. That this is basically telling you if I go to purchase this Phanta Ray, I can pay 5 and I can only put it into my build deck, where Androister can go into build or combat, combat support, only support, or the Shocktopus can actually go into any deck. Then as you move past the art, you can then see some of the cards basically have up to 3 sections of effects it can play. So the Phanta Ray does not have any deck limitations on this, so that means you can play all 3 of these, or just 1 or 2 of them, depending on how many you want to play. You will notice there is a orange bar here that says 1. That's the energy you spend to play that section of a card. So I would, if I wanted to play this and draw 1 more card, I would spend 1 energy. Whereas you can see on Joyster, it costs you 1 energy, and it's going to provide you 2 different stats. But you can see on a few of these cards, they actually have symbols on the other end. That means it's a moving card that as soon as I play this, if I was in my build deck, it's now going to move to my combat deck. And then the same as if I'm in combat, it's going to move back to build. So this card's going to jump between decks. And then Lobster Launcher is going to do the same thing, but you can see there is a C and an S. And that simply says while I'm in combat, it spends 1 energy for 5 damage. Now it moves to support. Where in support, it just simply moves right back to combat, but it moves to the bottom of the deck. So it's kind of a 1 hit for 5 damage for a decent amount, but then it's just a junk card for a turn. Battery Pack's very simple. It's just giving you 3 energy. And then Shocktopus is basically letting you choose what deck do you want to place it in, but it will not move. So once you add it to that specific deck, that is its function for the rest of the game. Whereas knowing something like Phanta Ray or Battery Pack, it's doing that one thing in that one deck alone. All right, so now we're going to walk through how a turn or 2 plays out in build. So every deck, you always want to shuffle it when you pick it up. I've already done that with all of them, and I'm going to draw a hand of 5 cards. In this game, you draw up until you either run out of cards or hit 5, whichever happens first. And you can see here, if I lay these cards out, I have 4 Build-A-Bots and a build system. Every deck has 6 common cards of its type, a system card, and then I also have an ejection seat still in here to draw. You can see all of these have that little orange bar here noting that they cost energy to play. And I only have 2 as first player. I only start with 2 energy. Second player starts with 3. But the system card lets me choose 2 options. One of those choices is simply gaining 2 more energy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and play that card. Then these ones is I could say, let's just go ahead and spend 2 for now on 2 of these Build-A-Bots, and they're going to give me 4 parts to spend. And with that, I have the option to afford a Sea Sweeper for 3. And then I can add this either to my build deck or support. Now note that my build deck was moved down into the play area. If you're purchasing a card of the deck you're currently in, just like any deck builder, you add it to your discard pile. But if you're adding it to a deck you're not in, you put it on the top. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and add it to the deck I'm in. And as soon as you purchase a card, a new card comes out. And you can see nothing up here costs 1. And this is the only section that whatever you don't spend, you lose. All the other stats stay the same. So I'm going to go ahead and just accept it because I want to carry some energy over for next turn. So it's going to go back to 0. I'll discard everything I did or didn't play, and now I'm going to draw my next hand. Now in this game, I can always look at my next hand before I end my turn. You can always choose if you want to reshuffle or not. Because the idea is if you want to switch decks, you have to play, your whole entire deck has to be in your discard pile. So I'm going to choose that my next hand will be a little smaller and end there, and then it would go to the next player's turn. So now let's say it comes back to me, and I go to play this turn. I have 2 energy, but I still have all cards that cost energy, so maybe I'll spend these 2 to play these cards. So I'm going to play these 2 cards here. I've gained 2 parts, and then use the ejection seat to go ahead and trash that card I just played. So you can play the cards in any order you want that benefits you. And with the 2, I'm going to go ahead and purchase this battery pack that's going to give me 3 energy and can only go into support. So I put it up there. I have everything in my discard, so now I can go ahead and reshuffle this deck, return it, and now I can switch over to either one. I'm going to go to support as I have no energy, and combat would also cost energy if I wanted to go in there. And same as every time you pick up a deck or return it, you always shuffle it. So I'm going to reshuffle, and then I draw my next hand of 5. Okay, we're a bit further into the game, and this is kind of showing you what like a turn or 2 of combat looks like. So I have a new hand of cards here. I have 10 energy, and my max now is up to 15. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out my hand. And the Blowfish is the card that you have 6 generic of in your combat deck. And these are simply, they have an extra symbol that this costs 0 energy to deal 1 damage, but it has an addition that every Blowfish I play this turn will cost 1 additional energy. So if I play another one, it'll cost 1, next will cost 2, so on and so forth. As an addition that if I can remove this card, it also deals 1 damage. So in this hand is a lot of the cards that were up here. So if I were just to simply play left to right, so the first card is Shocktopus, then if I'm in combat, I can go ahead and spend 2, and it's going to deal 4 damage. Then my Lobster Launcher, I spend 1, and it's going to deal 5 damage, and then move to support, so I'm up to 9. The Androister is I'm spending 1 to get 4 parts, and I'm going to do 2 damage, and if the other opponent does not happen to be in their combat deck, they're going to take 2 more. So let's say they're in build, so now they're up to 13 damage, and you can see this one, because I'm in combat, now moves to build. And then my Blowfish will bring it up 1 more damage, and I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 more to go ahead and remove this card to deal a total of 15. And then after that, I've played everything I could there. I think I was supposed to spend 1 more. And I still have 4 left to spend, so maybe I want to purchase this box of junk for 2. So I'm going to go ahead and you can see that has to go to build, and then a new card comes out. And I still have 2 left, so maybe I'll buy one of these multi-tool and go ahead and put that on top of support. And I only have 2 cards left to play my next turn, but you know what? I don't have a lot in my discard, so I'm going to go ahead and reshuffle, which is 2, and play a hand of 4 for my next turn. So if you do thin your deck down to just simply 5 cards, you could always play the same hand every turn and switch when you want. All right, now to show you how support would play out is I have a hand here, and laying out these cards, as you can see, Battery is the common card in this, and it's just simply 1 energy. This is the battery pack I purchased earlier, the Lobster Launcher and the Sea Sweeper. And then the system card here either lets you reveal cards from the top of your decks, or you can increase your max energy, which I've been focusing on throughout the game. So to kind of show you how something could play out is, let's go ahead and say I play the Lobster Launcher. In support, it's simply going to move right back to the bottom of the combat deck. So the downside of that card is I have a card that allows me to reveal from the top of the deck. I can never reveal that card from here. The Sea Sweeper, on the other hand, says I can get 3 parts and 1 energy. And then the bottom says if I happen to reveal or draw this as an extra card, I get 2 more. It was just in my hand. So because I just played it in support, it's now going to move to build. These 2 cards are going to give me 4 more energy, so I'll go up to 7. I've played those. And then I have a support system card. I'm going to go ahead and choose to reveal the top card of a deck. So I know what I just put here, whereas right now, because every time you switch decks, it's reshuffled, I don't know what's on top of either of these. So if I could gamble for some damage or maybe a nice upgraded card I have in here, but I know I put a Sea Sweeper up here. So I can then play it again. I'm going to get 3 parts, 1 energy, and because this was revealed as an extra card, or revealed, I get 2 more energy. And anytime you reveal a card, it slides to the bottom of that deck, meaning I now have to actually go in that deck to find it and play it again. So even though I was in support, I was actually able to get 6 parts and I gained a lot of energy. And with that, I could then say, okay, let's go ahead and purchase some cards. So maybe I want to buy this radioactive that gives me energy in other decks. And I could spend 5 on that and put that into my combat deck. And then after I'd be done, I lose all my parts and I draw my next hand of 5 cards and pass my turn.